Hello.
Hello.
Oh, so it's so funny. I'm gonna do something else. Okay, I'm glad we're doing this.
You've got people here.
Oh, great. You know, because I clicked on a Zoom. I'm gonna redo this. Okay. I'm gonna go out. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Rabbi Steve.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can.
And can you see me?
Nope.
No, I can't see anybody either. Oh, I see Irv's on. All our peeps are on. Nancy. I don't know why I can't see anybody. Let's see.
Well, for those who are not so used to Zoom, I'll just encourage you. Should be a button near the bottom of your screen, or if you have an iPad, sometimes it's at the top of your screen to start video. Encourage you to do that. And when we really get started, we're going to mute everyone for a while. But in the meantime, glad to have you. We'll get started soon. Again, for those who are new to Zoom, you could just take a look around. There's a chat function as well. I'm going to write you all a message. So you can take a look and see where that is. You should know that you can take send a note to everyone who's listening, and including the people who are sort of running it. And you also can send individual messages to people who are on the call as well. There's Rabbi Lopatin. Hello.
Hi, everybody. People on the call already. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah. You don't mess around.
Oh, my good. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Oh. I have to go to that full screen thing. Okay. Oh, I love everyone's background. It's so beautiful to see everyone into everyone's home.
Do we need a Tanakh?
It's never a bad thing to have a Tanakh, but you probably won't need a Tanakh.
Okay.
Except to the extent that we all need a Tanakh, but you know.
Right. Okay. Good to see
you
everybody.
could, if you would prefer, actually, you could have, the Sefer Torah that you have written for yourself, and you can hold on to that instead.
Okay, I'm out.
But if you want to, when we have like back and forth, bring out the Tanakh, you'll...
Oh, yeah.
Remember when Ezra did that?
Let me see if I can.
Oh, so we're going to recording, right?
We are recording, so you just be careful out there.
Yeah.
There we go. So now we can all see you, really, right?
I actually cleaned up that bookshelf behind me just for this.
Third video?
We appreciate that.
Oh, God, no. No, we're not doing me video. That's me.
Going to...
So what? I'm in a t-shirt. No.
Great. I may go back and forth and try and sort of use that function so we can have, Rabbi Lopatin speaking when, you can really see him when he's speaking and all that.
Oh, so what's that function?
That is, I don't know if you're able to do it. As the host, I may be the only one able to do it, but the function is Spotlight Video.
Spotlight?
Kind of makes me think you're about to dance or something, but yeah.
Spotlight Video. Okay. Yeah. That spotlights anyone speaking, I think, or
I think they made to spotlight the person I clicked on you as the spotlight video. I don't think it'll necessarily go to someone else just because they're speaking. Right. But I'm not sure.
Oh.
I have a little bit of experience with it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
my internet connection is unstable. So, if it gets bad too many times, we'll just go back. I'll just use my iPhone. Maybe I should just do that.
Okay.
Maybe I should just do
Steve,
that.
Yes.
is there a way, and I couldn't do this the other day either, where I can see the people at the bottom or, the other
Yeah.
people?
There should be, there's a function which gives you a gallery view. But at a certain point, if there are too many people, it just will end up being on another screen because it just can't, everyone would end up being tiny.
Well,
So
sure.
it just,
I just don't get anybody but you and me.
No, on the top
Oh.
right, are you clicking on the top right where it has that little box of 9 little baby boxes? On the
See
top
that?
right. Right next to Nancy Goldberg.
I don't have I don't have any of that, and I don't know why.
Something just, do you have a Mac or you have a?
I have a Mac, I have an iPad, and my cursor's up there, and I just don't have that. I have me in a box.
Have you clicked or just click? and
Click
something
all over
that
the
opens up
place.
things?
Yeah, no. Oh, well, it's okay. I don't have to see everyone, I
Not
guess.
to see it. Wow, excellent. This is great.
Okay.
Oh my God, it's
So you
nice.
see-
Super.
You
Oh,
know, we
Eileen
did this
Rubin,
with
are you
our-
there?
We did this with our Torah line by line class Monday. Did a Zoom.
How'd that go?
Come on.
I bet you had your Tanakh then.
He's not gonna
Yeah.
see it.
No, Mitch put the page up so we could all
I
see
have
it.
the
He had
video
it on
out,
the-
the mute
Yeah.
stuff.
Tomorrow.
You can put
Okay.
that-
Rabbi Rubenstein,
Yes.
is it, how's my internet been? Has it been spotty?
You haven't been talking that much, but so far when you're talking, it seems fine. I mean, I can see you and I'm not getting any warping.
Okay.
Sometimes I've noticed my internet here is a little bit spotty too, not tonight yet, but probably when I start to really talk and try and say something intelligent, that's when it'll really go out. We'll find out.
Something.
Shukach to all of you who have gotten yourselves online like this. It's good.
Pretty amazing, huh?
Yeah.
I wanna afterwards talk about the artwork that's behind some of you, Jeff and Deborah, and
I think I'm moving that down because now I can see that my wedding picture is up there. I don't know that my wife
I
really
like
wants that.
that.
Yeah.
Nancy has a picture. I can't really see it, but there's a photo and
Perfect.
2 pictures. Great.
But we don't have our video on.
I know.
Then they'll see you. You want to?
Yeah, sure.
You're right there.
Wonderful. Okay, well, we'll start in one minute. I think I was saying on another Zoom
I don't
meeting,
think it's a good idea.
Zoom is making us like yekkes, like we are on time. Like,
Yeah, we don't mess around. You know what I did learn? I learned that, you look better if the camera's a little higher up looking down at you, as opposed to looking up at you. So,
Better than surgery.
Oh, I see. I was on mute. Oh, okay. So those
You
pictures,
were.
those pictures. Thanks for telling me. So those pictures, I'm a huge Beatles fan. So those are like the cartoon Beatles.
wow.
It's directly from Liverpool when my husband and I went to Liverpool.
Oh,
That's a
very nice.
So now it's 8:01. Shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. So with everyone's permission, what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to mute pretty much everyone, and except for Rabbi Lopatin, we'll let him
We can
talk,
mute
and then
ourselves.
later on we'll let me see here. Let me try this. Yeah, and hang on one second.
Very.
There we go. Now we can hear you. So I'll just say just another Zoom issue. I believe that most people have the opportunity to raise their hand, not just by raising their hand, but on Zoom. So if you would like to be recognized, you can probably do that. You also, as I mentioned to people right at the beginning of the this call, that there's a chat button. And it's a nice way to communicate to the whole group. You have a question, you were thinking of something, and also to communicate with me in case you're having any technology issues. I always remind people, this week I've reminded people, by next week everyone will be so used to this, it won't be a problem, but you can chat with everyone or you can select an individual, but don't relay snide remarks about individuals when you're sharing with everyone, when you think you're just talking to your friend. So that would be a shame. But we will forgive you. But whether your friend or others will, I can't tell. So welcome. Rabbi Lopatin and I are really glad that you're here, and we were going to just start by introducing ourselves. I feel like I know pretty much everyone on the call, and he may as well, but still, it seems like the right thing to do. So why don't you start?
And we'll go around, or just the two of us? Oh, just maybe the two of us.
I was thinking that you would sort of start, since we are the featured speakers, and we'll have other people maybe introduce themselves later on. But if you would, I'm going to try and let's see here. We're going to try and there we go.
Okay, great. Yeah. Hi. Oh, yeah. Hi, Asha Lopatin here. I am so excited. I'm a new to Detroit. My wife, Rachel, many of you know, Rachel Tesla Lopatin. Her father, Warren Tesler, is a proud member of Beth Am. And I am just been here. We've been here a year and a half. And I've actually known Rabbi Rubenstein. You know, I apologize. You know, we learn like every other week, or Rubenstein or Rubenstein.
It's Rubenstein, actually, but you know, I here's how you remember. Robin always says it's like Franken.
Okay. So we've known Rabbi Rubenstein for many years, and I remember actually my father-in-law was so excited when you came to the shul, and he talks about your sermons, and you did this, and he sends me all the materials you teach about, you know, this, look at that. When you changed from when you added the imahot, I think, and look at this. So it's incredible. So we've been following you, and it's been such a pleasure to be in Detroit to learn with you and learn from you. You know, I feel I'm both a rabbi of Kilat Etz Chaim, which is a lovely, small, wonderful modern Orthodox synagogue, and I see we have some members on here. And also the new executive director, just for 6 months, of the JCRC AJC, which is the voice of the Jewish community to the broader community. And look, I think we're all traumatized by this situation and not knowing where it's going to go. But I want to, you know, this was a great opportunity to do some learning with people that I want to learn with and have classes. And look, we could organize a class with Rabbi Rubenstein and let's do it in this time, but over Zoom, it's so easy. We just a couple of days ago said, let's do this, maybe 2 days ago or something, 2 or 3 days ago. And here it is. So I know that there's so many people that are suffering in so many ways, and all of us are traumatized. There's, you know, but let's take advantage of this incredible opportunity. And I can't wait to have some really good conversations with Rabbi Rubenstein, and I can't wait for this.
Wow. So
Yeah.
so let me see if I can get myself there. There I am. You can see me all?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm Stephen Rubenstein. It's a lovely way for Rabbi Lopatin to sort of say he's been following me. You might even be convinced that you know, I'm the one who people are like following all over the country and a little bit all over the world, as opposed to him. And but you'd be wrong. So but it's very kind. And you know, I'm the rabbi of Congregation Beth Am in West Bloomfield. I've been here in town. I'm like a real Midwesterner. I've been here for 15 years in West Bloomfield, and prior to that in Kansas City, Missouri. And I married a woman from Chicago, and so I'm like a real Midwesterner, even though I'm really from Queens, New York. My accent comes and goes. My daughter will tell you it shows up at very interesting times, but Now I'm a Midwesterner. And yeah, it's been really great having the Lopatins here in town, and for me to get to know Asher and learn with him and hear about his community and watch all of the different things that he's been doing. And you know, I've been spending, well, since last Friday, pretty much calling the congregation. We haven't reached everyone yet, but calling a lot of different people. And you know, as you say, I mean, I think trauma might be the right word, even though I would say on the surface, everyone tells me, everyone I've spoken to so far, they're doing pretty well. They're doing okay. They have what they need. No, they really thank me for calling, but they don't need anything right now. But I think day by day, you know, the decisions we made last Thursday about our synagogues in town, by Sunday, they felt a little bit insufficient. And by Tuesday, yesterday, even more changes. And we really, it's hard to keep pace with change right now with the situation. Hopefully we'll be able to measure things by weeks as opposed to changes in days pretty soon. Hopefully things will slow down and then reverse at some point sooner than we even can imagine right now. But in any case, I thank you all for being here, and I'm really glad we're gonna have a chance to talk about this coming Shabbos and the parasha and Shabbat HaChodesh, which is coming up, and also just to talk about how all of the events these last few weeks and again going forward are impacting our communities, and how we're, you know, how Rabbi Lopatin and I are thinking through some of the changes we're making or not making, or seeing what's going on in the Jewish community. So I'm going to turn this back over to Rabbi Lopatin, and I think he's going to start us off. If I can find you again here, hang on. So I want to get you back on the screen there. There we go.
Oh,
there you are.
The host has spotlighted your video for everyone. That gives a warning. So
there you go.
Thanks so much. Look, so I wanted to, you know, it's fascinating. You know, we are with these parshiot this week. It wasn't planned this way necessarily, but I find it incredible that this parsha, the first word is Vayakhel Moshe, about Kihila, about community. And that's like maybe the biggest challenge that we have with coronavirus, you know, because we are doing social distancing. We are breaking, in some ways, challenging community. And so I wanted to, there's something in the first few verses that are striking that maybe will help us, you know, when community is so important to us, and when we're reading about it, Vayakhel Moshe B'nai Yisrael brought them all together. We can't even, you know, we're struggling on Board of Rabbis phone calls about how to do funerals, and can we bring a minyan together, and just, you know, again, 4 or 5 days ago was Thursday, I think Thursday was our phone call when we decided to shut down our shuls. That was the conservative and reform movements and modern Orthodox. You know, Orthodox were a little bit slow, so it kind of took, just yesterday I saw the VOD finally said shut down shuls. But it's incredible that on the one hand, we're all about Kihila, and how ironic it is that this week's parsha is a parsha, when it's talking about Vayakhel, is one that we can't read in a Kihila, really. Though I hope we get to talk about maybe if we can we pull back, can we establish Kihila? And let me start with that, and then I'd love to hear, I think there's some insights going right from Kihila, Vayakhel, to Shabbat. You know, we're talking about the Mishkan, and building the Mikdash, and the donations of the Mishkan, the sanctuary, the tabernacle, and all that, and these parshiot, and yet all about that, these two parshiot, and yet it starts with Shabbat. So I have some ideas about how that works and how that answers some things about our situation. But Rabbi Rubenstein, do you have some? What are your thoughts about Kihila now and Vayakhel in this era where we're really challenged we're not allowed to have kehillah.
Yeah, so hold on. I'm gonna there we go. Give me one more second. I'm trying to do the video again here. Okay, anyway, can anyone see me? Maybe they can.
Yeah.
All right.
You're
Good.
there.
Okay, good. So yeah, I think I find that one of the reasons these days have been so busy for rabbis, which is to say, everyone's busy on all sorts of different levels right now. We congregational rabbis anyway, we went into this role because, actually I shouldn't say, everyone goes into it for a different reason. I felt like when I was in rabbinical school, I was one of those people who knew from the beginning to the end that I wanted to be in congregation. Whereas over the course of so many years at a really important time in your life, so many people were deciding and they wanted to do this or this. But for me, it was really being the part of the life of a group of people and connecting with them. And it's one of the reasons why from the very start of my career, I've always felt really lucky that this is the work that I do, to meet people at different stages of life, different moments in their life, opportunities to enrich their lives, their family and individual lives. And so for someone like me, and I know many of my colleagues, the idea that there's a significant challenge to that because we're more or less locking the doors, it's alarming, not just because we don't have our office anymore, but because the role that we want to play is being challenged. So, there are people on this call who have already been with me a couple of times on Zoom this week. And so we're doing what we can. So we did a little bit of learning. We've done a little bit of bringing people together. I think Vayakhel-Pekudei is so interesting because, the coming together is for a very defined purpose. It's not actually, we're not coming together only to chat, or maybe not at all to chat. We're there for a project. And I feel like right now, the coming together that we're doing, whether it's right now or the other things we're doing online, is it's not for anything, we're not building anything specific, it's for that big word, community. And I feel like, the feedback I'm getting from people, from, again, these phone calls or from things like this, is that it is, at least in this first week or so, it's making a difference in people's lives. They're feeling that sense of community, even as, we don't know what's to be in another, week or 2 weeks, and how we're going to feel about the viability of a computer screen and lots of faces really serving as community. I'm going to turn it back over to you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I love that. And by the way, I want you to know, this is really not rehearsed. We talked for 5 minutes about some ideas, but I want it fresh. And that idea of community for community's sake and not a utilitarian idea. Now, there is, I know Rachel, my wife, we're really trying to get volunteers to help. And how do we help the different institutions that are hurt in our community, Jewish ones and beyond that? Okay. What's
wow.
Okay? Everyone there?
What?
Someone has taken over this.
Let's
But in any case, you can still hear me.
Yeah, go on.
I'll go back to gallery. No, I can't even do gallery. Okay.
I'll figure it out. Keep talking though.
Okay. So it's for $3.99, and luckily it's not I don't know if you see what's on Zoom here, but I got
I do.
Your Hawkeye at the desktop. Okay. Well, it looks
it's not me.
A little bit. She should be dressed a little bit more modest, but for the most part, it's okay. This idea, Rav Stephen, that you mentioned, kehillah for kehillah's sake. Oh, thank you. Much better. Community for community. Again, I was saying, there are things we need to do. There are things, we need to help each other. But there is something so beautiful about kehillah for kehillah's sake that maybe we'll discover a little bit. And I'm a homebody. I actually love being at home, and I love not having to go. I have a short commute, and I love the Federation building, and I even have indoor parking. Thank
This
God.
is
I'm
the
very
perfect
blessed.
year for you, by the way, because, 3-day yontifs, for 2 days of yontif and then Shabbos.
I love being at home. Yeah. But, and I realized I got an internet thing. But the idea is that even if you like being at home, you still reach out to create community, and the important to connect. And I think that is why we have this, I'm sorry, I hope the internet's,
You're good, you're good.
I think that's why Shabbat, boom, because the idea is that, yes, we're into this for a purpose, to build a temple and all that, and yet the Torah, I think, is saying, whoa, no, let's think about community for community's sake. Let's think about Shabbat as a way of not building a more, how many members you have in your shul, how big is how successful is your shul, or anything like that. Let's get it down to the smallest denominator. And that's our Shabbatot. I mean, if we're alone, and we should talk about that a little bit. I'd love to hear from the conservative world what we do on Shabbat alone. But with your family, if you're with a friend or two or something, it really says like community should not just be for the purpose of a project. And the temple was destroyed. Both temples are destroyed and all that. And our shuls are closed, lahavdil. Community should really be just for community. So
I think that's right. And I think that, I think for those of us who have experienced what feels like a really full Shabbat, whether it's in our homes and in our synagogues, and that way, in our synagogue, we have opportunities occasionally to have retreats. We have a baby boomer retreat. It's like those Shabbatot, which are sort of full, and you get the goal, even though we like a weekend like that, you plan like all sorts of different programming. But I always tell people the reason we're doing it is so people are actually together and they're really experiencing community, and people walk out with friendships that, and also individually renewed in ways that a Shabbat that's more chopped up and isn't sort of whole can't really provide, I think. So, but I think that this past Shabbat, I don't know. I mean, it's happened very, very rarely in my time at Beth Am where there was. This isn't what happened. Sorry, it's very rare that I've been in my home while davening is going on Shabbat or a Yontif. I fell off a ladder right before Sukkot a couple of years ago. I was in my sukkah while everyone else was davening. It was very relaxing because I was now feeling better. But to be in my home Shabbos morning davening, knowing that nothing was going on there, was so strange. And even though I felt, I'll say two sides. It was very sad to know that this was the first of several Shabbatot like that. But I would say, because I'm still, whatever we're going through, we are all feeling like, there will be a time where this period will end, and we'll end up back there. Meantime, to be honest, if I can tell the truth, it was kind of a nice davening. I kind of really appreciated that in a way which, by the way, I daven occasionally during the week from my home. It's not always my greatest davening, but because of what's going on around me, that I was just a little more focused, a little more kavanah than usual. And I think one of the things I worry about for our community is that, there's no shul, and I am worried that no one is doing any davening. Either we'll call it, they're not praying, but I can imagine some people might be praying extra right now. And I also worry that there's not any davening, even our daveners, the people who would normally come to shul. So just this after, I think it was this afternoon or maybe this morning, an email that went out, we said, if someone needs a siddur, you don't have a siddur at home and you want to daven, let me know. We'll make sure you have a siddur. We'll get it for you online. We'll get you an actual book, whatever it is, and we'll figure that out, because it's not not only is it not a break from davening, but it's like a time where I feel like the possibilities of davening are very much there. As again, we wouldn't have chosen it this way. We don't want people to have to figure this out on their own, but such is the situation we find.
So you're part of the conservative movement, and I'm part of the Orthodox movement. And what are we doing? There are challenges. I mean, funerals, a minyan. Should you have 10 people together? Should you have, we have this idea of a minyan, of getting together. People want Kaddish. I know in my circles, people are struggling with this, and really trying to, I don't want to say put Humpty Dumpty back together again, but how do we reconstitute these things that are important? And you're right, again, it's beautiful. And a Shabbat on your own, if you have I love the idea of making sure people have a siddur, if you can daven, you can eat, if you have halot, I mean, a little bit, it can be wonderful. How far do we go in trying to say, during the week, in fact, we're really trying to do Zoom calls and calling people. I mean, Orthodoxy, I'm very, there are a lot of issues. Rav Yitzchak Greenberg said, as long as you can be part of any movement, as long as you're embarrassed about that movement. Right. So I'm part of Orthodoxy. I love it.
That's a famous one. And you can use that line no matter what movement you're a part of. Yeah, absolutely, right.
Any religion, go for it. But one of the things that Orthodoxy has done well, and certain areas in conservative, traditional, has been this fight against electronics on Shabbat. And I should say many Orthodox kids do text on Shabbat, but the standard is no electronics. And even in general, looking down and even having the TV on or whatever on Shabbat. So we've been so good about that, unplugging, it's so great, and just spending time. And now it's almost kind of the opposite. That's a way of people connecting. So how far?
But there's not much, but you wouldn't say there's much movement within your movement on that issue, right? Even right now, you're hearing many people talk about how to incorporate technology on Shabbat. I mean, I haven't heard much of that.
No, the only thing is interesting. I was just on a call with someone from Riverdale about Kaddish, that there is an opinion. There's this Rabbi Melamed in Israel, who's Yosef Melamed, wonderful. A lot of the Israeli rabbis, God bless them, they have these crazy political views, and oh my gosh, and then beautiful halachic views on many issues that pertain to day-to-day living.
Is this the rabbi in Tel Aviv?
Rav Melamed, he might be. I think he's like on a hilltop somewhere. But,
oh, okay.
But he has said apparently that you can say Kaddish by Zoom. Like you can build a minyan for Kaddish by Zoom. So it's not Shabbat yet. Right. But one area where we, our shul is going to have a Kabbalat Shabbat by Zoom. We're going to try it out. And if people, and I'm a little, I was a little nervous, but people were fine trying it out. If it works out well, we might even do like a guitar for Kabbalat Shabbat, of course. And I think that ending, when you take in Shabbat, all the screens go dark. But that's sort of an Orthodox way of kind of pushing the envelope a little bit. Beyond what we normally would be doing.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I asked about this, I happened to see between the time we spoke for those few minutes and now, I looked online and there was an article in the Jerusalem Post about a shul in Tel Aviv, which is saying Kaddish with a completely virtual minyan. So for those who have been following this over the past week, the conservative movement has tshuva from several years back. The title of it is kind of cute, Wired to the Kaddish Baruch Hu, and it considered whether you could gather 10 people online and that it was considered a minyan well enough that you could say, Kaddish, Kedusha, Baruch Hu, and things like that. And the majority opinion was yes, you could. Rabbi Avram Reisner wrote that. And so since all of this developed in the past week, there have been many people who have been saying we should be able to do that even, oh no, I said this backwards. I'm sorry. Let me change that. Rabbi Reisner said, you could, as an individual, dial in or on a computer dial into a place where there were already 10 people in one spot. And you, as the person remotely, could say Kaddish with them. So that has been the standard opinion. And he said, you need 10 people in one place. So since last week, people have been saying, well, these are very unusual circumstances, and we should be able to do it even remotely. And what happened yesterday is that the conservative movement, Rabbi Dorff and Rabbi Barmash, who are the co-chairs of the Committee on Jewish Law and Standards for the conservative movement, for the Rabbinical Assembly, they wrote a letter basically saying that the committee has sort of talked about this. And what's interesting is that the lead is you're allowed to do a virtual minyan with 10 people in different places. But if you actually read the letter, what he actually says is a minority of the committee thinks that's okay. And certainly there are other issues having to do with Shabbat and streaming on Shabbat. And I think the tone of the letter was like, we recognize this is Shat Hadchak, like just it's an emergency situation, basically. And that's why some people are being moved. But they said very clearly that this is one of the concerns I have about this overall, is that we're living so much on our devices. And if we say right now, well, we can do it. Well, when I try to get a minyan in a month or 2 months, people will say, well, you did it then. And by the way, there's precedent for communities saying, you did it then, and we should do it now. So it's something that I worry about. And I think there are additional alternatives that are both building community and giving opportunity for davening and all of that. But this is just another example of how the conservative movement is a big tent, tries to be a big tent movement, and underneath that tent, you have people on a variety of spots on the spectrum.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we'll see what happens with this change. I hope that. I hope maybe we'll bookend Shabbat. That's sort of my view, that we'll bookend it with Kabbalat Shabbat together. People are on their own, and then we will then Havdalah together again.
Right, that's what we're planning on doing as well. I think we started to advertise that. Definitely by tomorrow, our congregation will know about that too.
So one thing, and then we should move on to there's so much more.
Yeah,
I must say, people are getting a little break because the laning this week is so long, and it's beloved, it's holy, but it's so boring. So you're getting a break this Shabbat. So maybe if this virus goes away in a week, then we just will have missed a very long reading. And the Haftorah is not so exciting either. I mean, read it. Everyone should read it on their own. But it's interesting. Yesterday was a beautiful day, right? It was a little cool, but it was beautiful out. And we live in Huntington Woods, and people were going around. Rachel and the kids are going around, seeing people like from a distance in their homes, and almost like singing songs. It's almost like Christmas caroling, and so it might be an interesting thing on Shabbat if they still let us outside, which so far they let us outside, to walk around your neighborhood and from a very safe distance sing a Shabbat song or sing some songs for your neighbors. In Israel, there were some videos going around that Israel was doing some music. People were standing on their mirpasot.
I feel like I heard about that in Italy too, right?
Yeah, and in Israel, it's Bashana Haba Neshev Ala Mirpeset. We'll sit on the mirpeset. So maybe Shabbat can also be that way, especially as we get into the summer, people walking around and staying a very safe distance away, but at least seeing each other that way. So, Rabbi Rubenstein, should we? It talks about Shabbat, about Pesach.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I was going to suggest. So, yeah, go. I mean, you wanna start us off, or do you want me to say a word?
Yeah, like, well, you say a word.
Well, I mean, we briefly talked earlier today about, Shabbat HaChodesh. So Shabbat HaChodesh is, one of these special Shabbatot leading us towards Pesach, and it's the Shabbat before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and it's really just getting us ready. And so many of you, I'm sure, as I have, and all the Jews I know, are like thinking about what exactly is going to be. What is going to be with Pesach? People, I've talked to someone tonight about, getting their dishes and how are they going to do that, and how they're going to get their food, and who's going to be there. And a lot of people, again, who do use technology, they're talking about all sorts of different ways, again, to create that community by basically doing their Seder together with people who can't be at their table. And trying to figure that out. So I was saying to Rabbi Lopatin earlier, this issue of like large seders, like large groups, right, is the way so many people think about Seder. We were going to have a pretty big congregational Seder that first night, as we have for several years now. And so that issue of like many people and a lot of food and how do we like figure that all out is one model. And it's the model I think that's most like recognizable to lots of American Jews. But, Rabbi Lopatin pointed out that, that's not the only model of Seder. And if you go all the way back, I don't want to take your line because it's the Torah's line, but still you should explain this. I thought it was a really important idea.
Well, it was so, and you had talked about also that our
Right.
Pesachs are tiny compared to the Ola Rega going up to Jerusalem, crowded and everything. You can imagine sort of like Yom Ha'atzmaut in Israel, where everyone has a barbecue, and so it was funny. I was thinking that Pesach Mitzrayim was just family and just very small people. And if you had such a small family, if you were single and you couldn't finish the lamb or the goat by yourself, you had to get someone else so you could do that. But it was really b'michsad nefashot tachosu alaseh. It was like very small groups, tied down to a very small little skinny lamb. How much meat is there on these lamb chops anyway? And so, sorry to our vegetarians, how much, in a beet, how much meat is there in a beet? But, that really, in some ways, we're going back to Pesach Mitzrayim. We're going back to the original Pesach of Mitzrayim, of a very small group. And they ate it, they ate it not in this relaxed, luxurious way that we eat Pesach. And it'll be a different experience. By the
way, half the people are saying, relaxed, luxurious way. You don't know what I have to do. I'm like running back and forth to the kitchen, and everyone's complaining. But I hear you.
Right, that's true. It's interesting that we're, again, I don't know, like, it's so traumatic, and the people that plan Seders with their families and go every year, and I look, some of the Pesach programs, I think, oh, they're so fancy and schmancy, but people that go down to Ramat Darom,
we should all be so lucky.
I know. So,
yeah.
So it's different. It's just going to be such a challenge, but it will get us back to it's kind of back to basics in a certain way. And as long as we can hold it together with hope for the future, I think there's something very powerful about that.
Yeah, and I would just say, we didn't have a chance to talk about this earlier, but on my email this week has had a lot of talk about Pesach Sheni, which might be just an opportunity to say a word about that. For those who don't know Pesach Sheni, there's this story in the Torah about a few people who were ritually impure. They couldn't take part in the Seder, and so they created a month later an opportunity for someone to have make the sacrifice and eat it, and because it's such an important ritual in the Torah, and has become one for the Jewish people, for all these years, and so we didn't want to miss out. It basically it's a non-ritual entity anymore. I think we don't say tachanun pretty much, and that's about it. I mention it at Minyan, otherwise no one else knows that it's Pesach Sheni. So what some people have been saying, well, our Seder is going to be like so, hopefully it won't be, but could be so shvach that we should have everyone should get together and have a big Seder at Pesach Sheni. Now, first of all, if you watch the news, it doesn't look like we're going to be ready by Pesach Sheni to get everyone together. But not only that, I mean, I'm hoping that we're going to rally as it really gets close. Our families, the people in our homes, that is, we're going to rally and we're going to take advantage. I mean, you are going to be able to not have to worry about what Uncle Jimmy says about the way he wants his Seder when he comes every year. And that the other one who always makes you do whatever it is, you are going to have the opportunity. I mean, unless you and your spouse can't get on the same page about it or whoever's there, but you have an opportunity to really do something with your Seder that you rarely do.
I think you just turned it all around with that, to avoid the nudniks. I mean, it's a chas v'shalom.
Unless, by the way, unless we have all the nudniks on the call. Maybe they're the ones causing the trouble.
No one thinks they're a nudnik, I think. But yeah, it's I think that, so it's interesting. One innovative thing that I'm thinking of, and it's funny because halachically, basically, I mean, there might be some real leniencies, but in general, certainly the Orthodox world accepts that the Seder has to start when it's dark. You say Kiddush when it's dark. And, I constantly talk about children's Seders, or, if you have old relatives, how do you sort of forward, back, whatever, you put a lot of stuff in the beginning. There are kind of ways of helping. But basically, in Detroit, our Seders are starting at 9 o'clock, and so what I'm thinking of, I'm excited about it, is from 6 to 8 or 6 to 8:30, we'll have a model Seder. We'll have charose, we'll have maror, won't have matzah. I won't eat matzah. But we'll have that on Zoom, and everyone will be there, and then we'll sing, and we'll do this, all that stuff. And then, at 8:30, at sunset, whenever it is, we'll stop, and then everyone will make their own Seder. And the truth is, if there are people that, for them, this is the Seder from 6 to 8, and they're not going to do one later. Okay, then they'll do it, and they'll be on Zoom. I'm not going to, click them. I don't even know how to do that. I'm not going to click them off, going to mute them. But I think that's sort of one way, at least, to integrate people, to bring people into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, my sense is that our community, it's funny, I will reveal, although everyone who gets our bulletin knows this, so for those who don't get the Beth Am bulletin, so the only 2 nights of the year that we don't have evening davening are the first and second night of Pesach, because I would say it's fairly, fairly common, near universal, is that people start their Seders early. And so being that that's the case, you neither want to pull people away from their Seders nor pressure people to come to davening. We just assume that people are going to be doing their Seders. And there are ways that some people have of basically you front load the Magid section, starting with the 4 questions. And the Magid is that is the bulk of your time, unless you're going to really, I guess some people, the singing at the end is it takes a lot of time too, which I love. But, if you sort of front load that, and then you go back to Kiddush, although as someone pointed out when I told them this recently, I thought what's the first thing we learned? Seder is about order. So now you're telling me to do it out of order. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But so everyone does it a little bit differently. And I think that this is, the conservative movement has written about this lately in the last few years, I think, about, how early can you start your Seder, and find a couple of opinions over the course of the Middle Ages where people say you can start it earlier. But, obviously, you're right that the standard is to not start until dark.
Yeah, it's interesting. But you're not planning to Zoom your Seder. I
think by the time I would be starting my Seder, I think everyone else in my congregation is going to be having their Seder. Right. There's a chance, because some family who would be here normally isn't going to be here. We may actually do before Yontif, and before we really start Yontif, we may do part of Magid or some other stuff together on Zoom or something like that, and then get ready for Yontif. So we're still figuring it out.
You know, and I wanted to. I have a little vort on the HaChodesh Hazeh on this, and maybe if you have some word, and then we'll go to.
Yeah, we should take some questions, comments.
So I think that from what just thinking about even the seders, how we're going to do that, and how we're going to do, and how we do Shabbat, and I find this week HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodashim, which starts with the new month and declaring a new calendar. Breaking from the Egyptian calendar and the model of the moon, which is changing all the time. It is waning and waxing, and that we really have to. The challenge for us is, first of all, to care for people. The challenge for us is first of all to care for people, but the second challenge, and that's critical, and the second challenge really is how can we be creative? How can we reimagine certain things? How can we re-engineer ourselves? And as a JCRC AJC person, I'm part of an agency called Federation, and a lot of agencies really have to figure out what they're going to do. The model, the old model won't work for these next few months, and so. I think it's amazing that the first mitzvah that we get is to be innovative. Chodesh Hazeh Lachem, Rosh Chodashim. And, the Midrash says that Moshe nitkasheh, he had a hard time, like, what? What are you talking about? What? And Hashem had to point to the moon. This is what I'm talking about. And so I hate pandemics, and just what's happening in the economy. Oh my God, I want pumping $2 trillion. But I do like change, and I do like innovation. I do like opportunities for doing things differently. So I hope
we're gonna quote you, by the way. You hate pandemics. It's good to know. Because we weren't so sure at the beginning of this call. We really learned something. No, I appreciate that. I mean, it's interesting. Of course, for those who know Rabbi Lopatin, and for him to say, he likes change. It's an interesting, to be, I don't know how exactly you frame this, but it's not always, it's not easy to be, on the wing of a community, or to be creating your own, wing. It's not a place that I would look forward to being, but I think you serve like in a really important role for the community overall, and for your specific community, because we need sort of all the places on the spectrum, not just the ends. And even though the conservative movement sees itself as sort of in the middle, even though we don't like to say, yeah, we're the ones in the middle, it's like a really unfortunate way of thinking of identity. But there's a challenge to recreate and to renew and to all of that. And anyway, so shkoch to you. So why don't we, at the risk of it's not easy to keep Jews quiet for 45 minutes. So this is really something that we've done, this technology. So I'm going to just open everything up and see what happens. I guess maybe it would be good as I do that. Perhaps you could, raise your hand on your screen.
You can raise your hand this way.
Oh.
Raise hand.
Where is
It should be towards the bottom of your screen.
Not all, but
We're on.
Or Deborah Darvik is waving her.
on the
Is
bottom.
waving her. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? This is too noisy. Now, 1 second. I'm going to mute everyone again. A lot of feedback. Okay. Deborah, you want to speak? There we go. You are recognized.
Okay, this has just been terrific. I've missed community, and the whole nation is going through this, but I was thinking about the Shoah and how bit by bit, how everything was closed down. And thank God it's not our government doing this to us. But I've been thinking about those people fellow Jews after Kristallnacht, losing a school, can't go to the gymnasium, work, doctors, groceries, how the world just began closing in on them in the utter fear that this is nothing like that, and yet that sense of the world closing in, and my calendar, everything's getting erased.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's like a prisoner. You need order, like we studied in Musar. I've been very careful, always hanging up my coat when I come home now. My bed is made. I get dressed quicker in the morning. That there's a security in, even our house is neater and we're not sloppy, but there's just been establishing order. There's comfort in it, and it's necessary when everything is chaotic. So
Yeah.
just my tradition, Judaism is there. Somehow I just lost everybody. Did I?
No, we're here.
Oh, all right. I just have Zoom on. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. We can still hear you and see you.
Right,
Oh,
right.
okay.
Yeah, you're good, right.
So anyway, that's what I have to say, and it's just great being together, even like this.
Well, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Rabbi Lopatin.
Yeah, it's just so powerful what you're saying, because I think we have that image, even when people are not allowed to go into parks, Jews are not allowed to go into the park. And, what's interesting also is that the Jews in the ghettos, they made the most of it. They innovated. They had, plays and drama and newspapers, and they taught Torah, and they taught, were not able to overcome the murder of Jews, but they did their utmost to really do incredible things that you couldn't imagine how could people do it. And I remember one of the stories, I think it was called The Last Days, about the Hungarian Jews. Tom Lantos was in it, where they talked about saying Kabbalat Shabbat in Auschwitz in the latrine, because the smelliest, most disgusting place, because they knew the Nazi guards wouldn't be there. And that's where they said Kabbalat Shabbat. And like you say, Deborah, it's thank God we're not like that. But they refuse to let outside circumstances win against their Judaism. And it's a challenge, again, thank God it's nothing like that, but there are elements of that. And it's something we have to really not let, this pandemic stop us from being the kind of people we want to be and the kind of kihila we want to be.
Exactly.
Thanks. Anyone else want to share a comment or a question? Yeah, go ahead, Manny.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We're talking about just families getting together for a Seder. But what happens when, like in my circumstances, I'm in a senior citizen's home, we're in semi-lockdown. We have no way of having anybody with us. So what do? Make Pesach for ourselves?
I would say that is exactly what you should do. I mean, the tradition is that even if you're by yourself, you have a Seder, but we don't really want that for people. We want people under normal circumstances to be with a small crowd, even if it's not a big crowd. But I think I think you want to have a Seder. Yeah, I mean, I think you want to, I imagine you have had a Seder every Pesach of your life. And this year, you should have a Seder as well. And you know what? It will be the most unique Seder because of not only because it's small, but because of where we are, I think, spiritually and emotionally. I am really curious to see, for those who are, it's not just willing, but like able to sort of muster the moment and the strength within them that night, those nights. I kind of wonder what the stories are going to be afterwards. What are people talking about? What does the Haggadah, bring up for? This is maybe the surface, but like we're going through a plague. not a
Yeah.
God-given plague, but the issue of like the suffering of that, and even if the Egyptians deserved it, right? And you could have a whole conversation about that, but even if they deserved it, so still the suffering is there, and we have all the midrashim about how the angels respond at the sea. The Jewish people are cheering, but God also notices the suffering of the Egyptians and how God sort of empathizes, with suffering and what we're going through. So that's just one little piece, but I think there's all sorts of things that we could talk about at a Seder this year, which we would not have even thought to speak about last year.
Yeah, I mean, I also, and sometimes I don't want to give a technical answer to a very deep problem. I hope that everyone gets a kit, with charoset and maror and matzah and everything, grape juice or wine, whatever you need to do the Seder. And I want to be connected with Zoom. And I hope that in the homes where you're at, that our senior services, whoever is, helps everyone get connected. I mean, and I feel our society, I heard that public school student, I mean, it's terrible. We're living in Huntington Woods. Everyone has internet. But in the city of Detroit, I don't know if 40% don't have or only 40% have internet. And now is the time, desperately we need to make sure people are connected. So I'm a big proponent of this Zoom Seder, and we might get tired of Zoom in a week or two, but I'm wondering if that's the way of really going through a Seder where, people you can have interaction, an interactive Seder with Zoom, with your family. And maybe it could be with relatives that you've never connected with before, that you haven't been able to connect with because, we're in some ways, we're able to overcome geography. I'm not saying, I love geographic community. I love the idea of a minyan in a shul or neighborhoods. I love that. This is the opposite side of that. This is being able to transcend distance and have that kind of celebration, with people that you can never do before, or have it before. So it's, again, I don't know if that's going to work. And that's what Rabbi Rubenstein was saying. Let's debrief afterwards. But there really is that potential.
Someone else, comments?
Brightman, what's your first name? I see your kid there. Very cute kid.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just listening in. This is a fascinating, like you guys were saying, it's a fascinating time to, quickly adapt to the very fast situation. And my daughter's in school. We've been using Zoom and FaceTime. She's FaceTiming friends. There's like they did basically for play date FaceTiming, and yeah, hopefully. I mean,
for the record, this is Aaron Brightman.
Yeah, it's
since
Aaron
you asked,
Brightman.
That's Aaron Brightman.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
And this is Joseph. Yeah.
And Joseph, right? And Summer, his daughter, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you. I don't have much to add here, but
no, I didn't mean to pick on you.
All
I
good.
just love
All good.
on the bottom of the screen.
Okay.
Anyone else? Comments or questions? Yeah, Nancy. Okay, great. Nancy Goldberg.
Hi, everybody. Can you see me? I don't know.
Yeah, we see you. We all see you.
Okay. So I miss my Betham family very much. It was very hard this past Shabbat not going to shul. But reading about the meeting tent kind of gave me comfort because now this is our meeting tent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I just want to say thank you. I'm a sappy social worker, so sorry. I get worked up. But I miss all of you very much, and I appreciate being able to connect this way. So thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I usually have to be in the same room as someone to make them cry. This is good. No, thank you, Nancy. Yeah, I mean, I think, right, well, we're going to be testing the limits of like the power of the technology and the limits of the technology, because even though this is great, right, we'd all rather be like together in a room, but this is where we are. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah. And I think we have to re-energize ourselves to call people we haven't called for a long time. And like, Rabbi Rubenstein, you're saying you're going through the shul list to really connect with people.
Yeah.
So I think.
Leslie, did you have something you wanted to say? No. Okay. Alex, I saw Alex had something you wanted to say. Hang on one second. Okay, there we go, Alex.
On March 20th, which is the day after tomorrow, it's going to be the yard site for my mother, Roseanne. And it's kind of a frustration that I will not be able to stand with the morning minyan gang when went to recite Kaddish for my mother. I'd be glad if I could somehow zoom in, if somehow a service of some kind could be arranged, 10 people, so I could, even in my own living room or in my own kitchen, stand when the Kaddish is, the Morris Kaddish is recited.
Right, Alex, we were talking earlier about, about these minyanim, and how some congregations are doing that. And we've put a couple online of places that are still having in-person minyan, but those are disappearing. And as I said, there are some congregations, even locally, who are broadcasting their virtual minyan, or they're getting a virtual minyan together. What I've been recommending to people, there's a prayer now on our website, which is was written specifically as a prayer for when you don't have a minyan with you. And, I would encourage you to learn a little bit of Torah in memory of your mother, you said, right? Mm-hmm. And also to recite that prayer. And, for the record, I think, I don't know that I said it sort of clearly, but, I think what I'm ultimately saying is if there's no minyan, we're not obligated to say it. If you don't have a minyan, you don't do it, right? But I recognize that that's, just as Rabbi Lopatin was saying, we don't want to give only technical answers to like problems that we're feeling. People don't always say Kaddish because they feel an obligation. They say Kaddish because they're used to saying Kaddish. That makes them feel connected to the people who they love and who are no longer with them. And so there is a challenge there. But I do think that, I happen to think that the prayer that was written and is in the Lev Shalem Siddur is actually quite beautiful also.
Kathy had raised her hand.
Okay, Kathy next. Was it Kathy? Yeah, and then Rob. Hang on.
Kathy, we can't hear you. Unmute yourself.
There you go. There you go, Kathy.
I didn't do anything. I just got closer to the computer.
Oh, well, cut that out. Okay. Rob, hang on.
No, wait. I think Kathy wanted to say something. She was like,
oh my goodness, what's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just answering Alex. I had that happen on Sunday. I had gone to New Orleans and I was so happy. I thought all my family would go to my father's 35th yard site, and they didn't wind up coming, the ones that were away. And my son, who was there, had spoken to his brother-in-law, who's a doctor, who had warned him. So I only saw him from the porch. He was on the porch, and I talked to him as I was leaving town. But since then, I found out that B'nai Moshe has a minyan online. So, or I think it's on Zoom. So right. I didn't get that. I did Havdalah with Park Avenue Synagogue last.
Yeah, you can do it with them again this Shabbos, or you can do it with me. I'm going to do it on Saturday night.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we have to be open and creative and open to different opinions and see what works, and also see the comfort level. I think what we're going to gauge, I think as rabbis, as sensitive rabbis, are people really, not, the alternatives to saying Kaddish, does it work for people or does it not? I know in the Orthodox community, a lot of people say, learn a Mishnah. On the other hand, there are these opinions that are starting to float around about, even in the Orthodox world, about a Zoom minyan for Kaddish. So, I think we're going to evolve here.
Yeah.
Debbie has, or
we're gonna let Rob talk, and then Debbie's next. Rob, did you want to? Rob?
Yes.
Kleinberg? No.
Yes, I wanted to comment on also what Alex talked about. My wife's in the exact same situation. Her father's yahrzeit is this weekend, and we got that little prayer that the rabbi sent out. It's a very, very lovely prayer. It ends like Kaddish does, the last part of it, which made it feel, much more familiar, more comforting. But one interesting thing, which maybe I shouldn't be admitting here in public, but we usually just say Kaddish once on the day. We don't do it in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. And my wife looked at the prayer and she said, this would be really easy to do 3 times for my father's yahrzeit. We're going to do it 3 times. So I thought it was kind of a pleasant turn of events.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
I'm glad that worked. Great.
That's so,
Thank you.
It's a beautiful way of making something, a gem out of coal, that kind of really, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Debbie.
And then Janice, or
Debbie.
I know that Adat Shalom is doing, I know my brother participated, I want to say, I'm sure you can call, but I'm looking it up on Facebook. Every morning, I want to say at 6 or 6:30, I think they're having a virtual minyan like this. And I just see that they are having 6 o'clock, Sunday through Friday, they're having minyan by video conference, and it's a Zoom like this. So they are having it, and anybody could log on because it's on their Facebook Adat Shalom website. So I could see the number and the whole meeting ID. So there are options in the community for things like that.
Thank you.
Just before, I wanted to mention that, whether or not it counts as a minyan or not, there is a davening together. There's an idea of Barov Am Hadrat Melech. It's a beautiful thing to gather together to daven. And so I think my kids' school has davening together, and some ortho, but even without, so it's not a minyan. And to some extent, like, if you don't say Baruch Hu or something like, is God going to say, forget about those people, it's meaningful to be together. So whether you're technically doing it or not, but then I understand that, so we actually had a discussion today about this, is there a problem with saying the Kaddish, even if it's not a minyan, God, if God has problems with that, I have a lot of problems, to tell God about, so it's really, I'm glad, as horrible as the situation is, let's talk about these things and see where we go. If we go anywhere, I don't know.
Janice, did you? Yeah, go ahead. Hang on one second, Janice. I got to unmute you. There you go. No, I'm not hearing you. Hold on. You're not muted, but I can't hear you.
Are you sure your audio is on?
She's working on it now. No, still can't hear you. Let me toggle it one more time. Hang on one sec. Let me try that. How's that?
No, I guess maybe audio. Oh, it's sad. We need to. Oh, you're trying different.
Yeah, I don't know. Yep. Oh, she's there. Okay, Janice, if you want, we would like to hear your voice. But if you want, you can type in the chat box, and we'll see it, or I can read it out.
we'll probably wrap up in a minute.
Yes, right. Last words, anyone? Any last comments?
This is, I'll say that I don't get, I know there are a couple of Etz Chaim people here, but I don't get a chance to meet up with the Beth Am crowd as much, and other people. I think there's a.
This was just, Rabbi, this was just your actual plan to gain members from this side of town. I know.
No. So we have, we meet at Beth Shalom, so we have a big parking lot. We have like a giant parking lot. We never had a big parking lot in Chicago, my shul in Chicago, so thank God.
So Janice just wrote that Sharet Tzedek has, they're doing davening online twice a day, so you can check their website for that.
It's interesting, Rabbi Rubenstein, it's fascinating. This is, you are a model of someone, a conservative Jew who's very committed to halacha, the most sensitive person, one of the most sensitive people really, and at the same time very passionate, committed to halacha. This is a fascinating, challenging time.
Yeah, I mean, I was aware already, before we had everyone say all these different shuls are doing this. I know that this is happening, and it's happening in other parts of the conservative movement throughout the country. So the good thing is that in some ways I could easily just say, well, I know that people can access this in a whole variety of different places, because after all, they're not actually going to everyone else's shul, and it's just a temporary situation. It's one of the things that I think our movement sometimes does. We sometimes take a piece of something that looks okay, but I think we are sort of missing the larger context of at least that letter, for example. But I would hate to end up sort of painting myself as either, so to speak, a crusader for halakha, as opposed to all of my colleagues. I don't see myself that way. I think there is a value in staying with the original tshuva, even at a time like this, because I see us as having a variety of different tools for this moment. And this may be one, and I think the others that I've tried to provide anyway are others. But we'll see what people. I appreciate what you said. Well, it's an opportunity to talk about all of these issues in any case. We have one more chat comment here. Thank you from Sue Bernholtz. Okay, great. Thank you. So why don't we? I guess we just want to thank everyone for being with us. It was really lovely. Who knows? Maybe we'll do something like this again sooner rather than later. In the meantime, there are all sorts of opportunities that people have online right now, and just be safe and be healthy. And Rabbi Lopatin, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I don't know if you have last words as well.
It's just a treat being with everyone in whatever capacity people can be in, and we feel we're there. I feel we're there together. And again, the way I started, it's amazing the people that are on video to be. Thank you for welcoming us into your bedrooms, living rooms, wherever it is, treadmill. Really, thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good night.
Laila Tov. Be well, everyone.